Good evening, and welcome to the Soliman's Report. Tonight we have with us Vivian Soliman, the Professor of World Studies at Tammy's University. We're going to be talking about corruption's role on justice. So my first question to you is, distributive justice is defined as a society's obligation to an individual. With that in mind, how do you think corruption in government is affecting distributive justice?
Let's take, for example, foreign government, because we don't have a lot of blatant examples here in the United States. We had the recent example of Nigeria. Their former government, before this government took over, used a majority of their funds, which were plenty enough to take care of the country, to make government officials and their friends and family even wealthier than they already were, where the majority of individuals were starving. And that money should have gone for social programs, helping people get on their feet, schools, hospitals, and instead the government failed them with their corruption.
Okay, so what you're saying is that really distributive justice is on the government. It's the government's responsibility to feed and to protect the people who can't do it for themselves, whether it's crippled or whatever situation they're put into. So when the government fails to do that and steal from the people and take the money for themselves, they're really failing to fulfill the obligation that distributive justice puts on them.
Absolutely.
My second question to you is, distributive justice is defined as an individual's obligation to society. How do you think that corruption within the people of an area affects the rest of the society and the government in that area?
Well, let's take, for example, poverty-stricken areas, where you have individuals who've chosen to make a living doing something that hurts the rest of society, like drug trafficking. Starts out with drug use and it's drug sales, and the government ends up needing to use their resources on law enforcement, which first hurts the most vulnerable, the youngest members of society, by taking that money away from schools and away from social programs for youth. And that person ends up affecting an entire society. It's not an isolated incident.
Okay. So what you're saying is, really, everybody has a role assigned to them when they start to acclimate or become part of a community. And by selling drugs or whatever it is, doing something wrong, they're failing in that role and they're negatively affecting the rest of that community. So one does have a true obligation to their community, and by doing wrong, they're not only doing wrong to themselves, but they're failing the rest of the community, therefore failing to fulfill their role in contributive justice.
Exactly. There's no such thing as a loner.
My third and final question to you is regarding commutative justice, which is defined as obligations between individuals. How do you think corruption by the individuals affects commutative justice?
Well, as members of a society, we do have obligations to each other. And even the smallest things are truly corruption. Something like theft, whether it be big or small, whether it be a neighbor stealing from another neighbor or someone stealing from someone they don't even know. They're hurting another individual within that society to benefit themselves. And in that notion, yes, that is corruption, and it does have a great negative effect on justice.
And so every individual is given a responsibility, as in contributive justice, to other individuals. And they have to fulfill those by not stealing, by doing right. Because if not, then they're failing in their role in commutative justice.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much for your input.
Thank you.
Now, to wrap up, we have seen throughout history that justice has been a big issue. Regardless, old, new, it will be an issue in the future. Specifically in the Old Testament in regards to Amos. For example, Amos chapter 2, verse 3. For the 3 sins of Israel, even 4, I will not relent. They sell the innocent for silver and the needy for a pair of sandals. So they're unjustly accusing people and putting people away just for money, whether it's money for food. But still, the point being is that justice, whether it's by you doing something wrong or falsely accusing, was a big issue and will continue to be an issue. Thank you for listening. We'll see you guys tomorrow night.